Welcome back to Magic Muggle, a Harry Potter after show. I'm your host, Eric Cicada, your resident Ravenclaw, broadcasting from the highest tower in Hogwarts. Today, we're covering two of my favorite chapters so far in the Goblet of Fire. Because this is the moment the Triwizard Tournament finally stops being mysterious and becomes dangerous. Up until now, we've had tension, suspicion, politics, people arguing about Harry's name coming out of the goblet. But in these chapters, the story flips the switch. We discover what the champions are actually facing. And let's just say the first task is not subtle. And by the time the task comes around, it seems that every competitor had one way or another to find out what this task was in advance to prepare. It's not cheap if everybody knows, but there is a lot of potential cheating happening that isn't punished because if everyone's on the same page, it's fair. But this is when we're finally introduced to dragons, like big dragons. Unlike Norbert in the first Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, he's a baby dragon. These are full-grown, monstrous Daenerys Targaryen, mother of dragons. Like if Daenerys Targaryen showed up from Game of Thrones, anyone? It would be pretty much her stomping ground. Huge, fire-breathing, medieval nightmare dragons. Let me just say it one more time. Dragons. And somehow a 14-year-old kid is expected to deal with one. But before Harry ever walks into that arena, he's already under an insane amount of pressure. His best friend still isn't speaking to him. The press is turning him into a spectacle. That's just rage-inducing reading what Rita Skeeter did to Harry. Half the schools think that he cheated his way into the tournament, and it does look that way. We know he didn't. So when Harry steps into that arena later, he isn't just facing a dragon. He's carrying all of that with him. So let's get right into it. Chapter 19, The Hungarian Horntail. Harry's entire world for the next 2 weeks shrinks into one thing, the first task. It's not just nerves. It's not like a Quidditch match. It's the kind of dread that feels like your life is leading up to one moment and might end there. And the only light Harry can see on that horizon is the thought of talking to Sirius. Even if Sirius can't magically erase the danger, just seeing a friendly face would matter right now. So Harry writes Sirius back and sets up the plan. Common room fire, late night, privacy. Hermione's basically running point on the logistics. And yes, they've got the break the glass in a case of an emergency option of dung bombs, but they really don't want Filch on their backs. I wonder how bad dung bombs are. Magical community fart bombs. I mean, like they got to be a lot worse than the real life ones that we have because we're not magic. We just have fart bombs. Okay, I didn't know we'd be talking about this during Harry Potter. And while Harry is trying to hold himself together, Rita Skeeter drops her article. Not an article about the tournament. A front page Harry Potter life story with other companions practically crammed in like an afterthought. Names misspelled, Cedric not even mentioned. It's that classic Rita move. Make the whole world stare at Harry, then twist what they see. And the worst part is the shame. That sick, burning feeling in Harry's stomach every time he thinks about it, because she quotes him saying these dramatic, syrupy lines that don't even feel like him. She literally writes things that he didn't even say. Like she took his awkward energy and turned it into a full-on inspirational poster. Then she goes further. She drags Hermione into it too, painting this like a fake romance story, calling her stunningly pretty, and now Harry and Hermione are both getting harassed in the hallways. Harry reaches a breaking point in the corridor and snaps at somebody, only for it to be Cho Chang, gently picking up his quill and wishing him luck. And it's one of those painfully human moments that Harry instantly feels stupid because he's not mad at Cho, he's mad at the world. I think all of us have been there at some point in one way or another. But Hermione is handling it with this cold composure that Harry honestly admires. Taking hits and refusing to react, holding her head high and telling Harry to ignore it. But Harry can't ignore it, especially because Ron still isn't speaking to him. Harry is dealing with fear, humiliation, public pressure, and the one person who normally brings some laughter and steadiness isn't there. Harry tries to pretend he doesn't miss Ron, but he does. Hermione is a great friend, but the dynamic is different. Less laughter, more library, more theory. And because Harry is struggling with summoning charms, Hermione's solution is learn the theory, which means more time buried in books while Harry feels panic sitting in his chest. And that panic only speeds up time. The closer the first task gets, the days seem to move faster. Hermione convinces Harry to go to Hogsmeade and get out of the castle just for a bit. Harry agrees, but only if he can go under the invisibility cloak. He's not trying to get snide remarks in the village, too. Makes me kind of sad for Harry because last year, when everyone went to Hogsmeade, he couldn't go because of Sirius, so he used his cloak to go. And now he's using it by choice this year because he doesn't want to be ridiculed by the masses. Hermione, meanwhile, is annoyed because people think she's talking to herself. And then Rita Skeeter is there in Hogsmeade, right in the village, and Harry has to physically press himself against a wall so she doesn't slam into him with her crocodile skin bag. That sight hits him like a wave of molten panic because it's confirmation. She's going to be at the task. She's going to feed on it. They end up in the Three Broomsticks. It's crowded, full of Hogwarts students and other magical beings. And when Harry watches everyone else just existing, laughing, trading chocolate frog cards, wearing Cedric badges like normal teenagers, and it crushes him. He thinks if the Goblet of Fire never chose him, he'd be sitting here normally. Ron would be beside him. They'd be joking about the champions and what they might face, safe from it. Instead, Harry's invisible in a corner and terrified. Then Hermione spots Hagrid, and Hagrid is talking to Moody. Moody's paranoia shows in little details. The hip flask. The idea that unattended drinks can be poisoned. He's always scanning. And then comes an iconic moment. Moody's magical eye catches Harry through the invisibility cloak. Moody calls this out casually, like, yeah, it sees through cloaks. It comes in handy. It's perfect for Moody. And Hagrid, under the cover of reading Hermione's spew notebook, whispers to Harry, "Meet me at midnight at my cabin. Wear the cloak." Hermione is nervous because it cuts close to the serious meeting, but Harry decides he'll just be quick. At 11:30, Harry sneaks out. The common room is still awake. The Creevy brothers are messing with badges, trying to turn Support Cedric into Support Harry, but the results are currently Potter stinks, and later Potter really stinks. Cruel, but kind of funny. Harry slips out and heads out towards Hagrid's cabin, and he immediately notices the Beauxbaton carriage is lit up and Madame Maxine is inside. Hagrid is visibly excited. He's got a flower in his buttonhole, and he tries to comb his hair, and it's not exactly working, but the effort is adorable. Hagrid and Madame Maxine is simultaneously hilarious and sweet. He's trying so hard, but she also seems to kind of like it. Hagrid tells Harry to stay under the cloak and be quiet. Harry warns him he can't stay long. He has to make it back for Sirius by 1. Then Hagrid leads him. Not into the forest at first, but to the Beauxbaton carriage. Madame Maxine comes out. The two of them link up like it's a fancy stroll. And Harry is jogging behind them. Like, what is happening right now? And then they walk far enough around the forest perimeter that the castle and lake vanish from view. And Harry hears men shouting in the distance. And then an ear-splitting roar. They round a clump of trees and Harry sees the truth. The dragons. That would make me faint. 4 full-grown dragons in an enclosure, rearing up, roaring, blasting fire at the sky. At least 30 wizards handling them, chains, leather straps, and sheer force. Harry sees different colors and shapes, and then the black one closest to them, the Hungarian Horntail, cat-like vertical pupils, enormous, violent, and a spiked tail. Dragon keepers are yelling warnings. The fire can reach 20 feet, and they've seen the Horntail do 40. Hagrid, in awe, calls it beautiful. The keepers fire stunning spells together, and Harry watches what it takes to drop a dragon. Not one wizard, not 2, a coordinated blast. Then the dragons are chained down and secured to pegs. And the reveal continues. Charlie Weasley is there. He's part of the dragon team. He lists the breeds: Hungarian Horntail, Common Welsh Green, Swedish Short Snout, and Chinese Fireball. I love the variety of dragons. Madame Maxime strolls the enclosure like it's an art gallery. And Charlie is immediately like, Hagrid, the champions are not supposed to know. And Hagrid basically says, yeah, but I thought she'd like them. Charlie calls it a romantic date, which is objectively true. Then Charlie points out the Horntail's tail spikes, that the back end is just as dangerous as the front. And Harry sees the eggs being placed beside the Horntail. Huge granite gray eggs carried carefully in a blanket. Hagrid practically melts with longing. Charlie also mentions Molly Weasley being in floods over Rita Skeeter's article, which makes Harry's shame spike again. And Harry leaves, because now he knows for sure the first task is dragons, and he's going to be facing one, with everyone watching. On the way back, Harry collides with something solid in the dark. It's Karkaroff. Karkaroff gets suspicious, searches, and then decides it just must have been an animal. And Harry watches him creep forward toward the dragon enclosure. So now Harry knows Karkaroff is doing exactly what Madame Maxime did, trying to gather information for his champion. And Harry realizes by the looks of it, Cedric is the only champion still in the dark. Harry makes it back just in time. The common room is empty. No dung bums needed. He drops into the chair by the fire, and Sirius's head is in the flames. And for the first time in days, Harry smiles. Sirius looks healthier than before. Haircut, face fuller, younger, but still with the haunted Azkaban eyes. Sirius asks how Harry is, and Harry tries to say he's fine, but he can't. He unloads everything. Nobody believing him, Rita's lies, the constant sneering, Ron's jealousy, and now dragons. Sirius says dragons are manageable, but first he has warnings. Karkaroff was a Death Eater. It's a pretty big drop. Sirius knew him in Azkaban. Moody put him there in the first place. Karkaroff got out by making a deal, naming names, and Sirius warns Harry to keep an eye on him and Crumb. Then Sirius shares something bigger. Death Eaters are more active than usual. The Dark Mark at the World Cup, Bertha Jorkins missing in Albania, where Voldemort was rumored to be. Sirius can't confirm who put Harry's name in the goblet, but he believes the tournament could be a perfect way to kill Harry and make it look like an accident. And then Sirius starts to give Harry a strategy for dragons, warning him not to try to stun a dragon alone. Before he can finish, Harry hears footsteps on the spiral staircase. Harry hisses for Sirius to go. Sirius disappears with a pop, and who walks in? Ron. Ron asks who Harry was talking to. Harry snaps back, and Ron gets angry. He throws the interview jab. You know, Ron was coming down in an innocent way, and Harry snapped at him. They could have forgiven at that moment if Harry wasn't so upset about everything and just missing the last thing that Sirius wanted to tell him. He's furious, and he throws a Potter really stinks badge at Ron's head and basically spits venom about scars and attention. And that's where chapter 19 ends. Harry storming upstairs fuming, and the heartbreak of two best friends standing on opposite sides of the room at the worst possible time. Harry and Ron fighting, it just breaks my heart. It's not meant to be. Everything's out of alignment, and especially at this point for Harry when he needs Ron most, he should have been a little more honest with Ron when he came down those stairs, in my opinion. I think it would have done really good for his mindset to just clear things up with Ron there and then. But Ron got defensive the minute Harry was. So it's complex, and fights, especially when you're a 14-year-old, and betrayal, they feel a lot harsher, and it's just not saying sorry that's going to fix everything. Moving into chapter 20, the first task. Sunday morning, Harry is so scrambled he's trying to put his hat on his foot. And that's the vibe. He finds Hermione and tells her everything. The dragon, Sirius's warnings, Karkaroff. Hermione's terrified about the bigger threat, but she's practical. Let's keep you alive until Tuesday evening. Then we can worry about Karkaroff. They do the frantic thing people do before something terrifying. Walk in circles and try to think of a solution that doesn't exist. 3 laps around the lake. Nothing. So they go to the library and pull every dragon book they can find. But everything is either care instructions or basically dragons are extremely hard to kill. Harry needs a simple spell. Sirius said a simple spell would do it. Hermione tries brainstorming out loud, switching spells, transfiguration, self-transfiguration, but it's not landing. Harry gets overwhelmed and begs her to be quiet so he can concentrate. And then his brain just turns into buzzing panic anyway. Krum is there too, lurking with books. Hermione is annoyed because the Krum fan club keeps showing up and whispering behind shelves. Harry barely sleeps. Monday morning, he considers running away from Hogwarts, but then realizes something meaningful. Even with a dragon coming, Hogwarts is still the only place he's ever really been happy. And he'd rather face a dragon here than go back to Privet Drive. Those Dursleys are like dragons of their own breed. And that thought calms him slightly, just enough to function. Harry sees Cedric leaving breakfast and makes the moral decision. Cedric still doesn't know, while everyone else probably does. So Harry engineers a moment alone with him, slicing Cedric's bag so his friends scatter. And then Harry tells him fast, dragons, 4 of them, get past them. Cedric is shocked and panicked. Cedric asks why Harry is telling him. Harry says the real Harry thing. Because it's fair. Because nobody should face that blind. Cedric is suspicious for a second, but Harry's intention is clean, a fair fight. Then Moody appears and pulls Harry away. Harry expects punishment. Instead, Moody praises him for being decent. Moody's office is stacked with dark detectors, a giant sneakoscope, a secrecy sensor humming because students lie constantly, and faux glass with shiny figures swirling. Moody asks about the dragons and then basically shrugs. Cheating is traditional. He's been telling Dumbledore that Maxine and Karkaroff will absolutely help their champions. Then Moody gives the advance that matters. Play to your strengths. Use a simple spell to get what you need. Harry tries to argue he has no strengths, and Moody shuts that down. Harry is best at flying. He needs to get past the dragon, so he needs his firebolt. And to get the firebolt, he needs the summoning charm. Harry rushes to Hermione. He needs to master a summoning charm by tomorrow afternoon, so they grind. Objects fly halfway, then drop. Harry is angry and scared. Hermione is relentless. They can't skip class, so they practice under the table. He snaps at Trelawney's doom predictions with that dark humor line about wanting a quick death, not drawn out in suffering. Even Ron almost laughs, the first crack in the ice. But Harry is still too resentful to care. They close the cloak to avoid teachers and practice late into the night. Peeves shows up, throwing chairs, and they flee. At 2 a.m., the common room is piled with objects, books, quills, chairs, gobstones, and yes, Trevor the Toad is there. And finally, in the last hour, Harry gets it. The summoning charm starts to click. Accio Dictionary. It flies. He catches it. Hermione is thrilled. Harry is anxious because the firebolt will be farther away than anything in the room. But Hermione insists distance doesn't matter if focus is strong. Here's something that stands out hard in the book. The buildup to the first task is massive. It's not a quick jump from dragons exist to Harry fights dragon. Rowling sits with Harry's dread. The public pressure, the Rita article, the Ron isolation, the late night training and the waiting. In a movie, they have to move. They hit the beats fast because the runtime is boss. But in the book, we live inside that anticipation. And that makes the task feel even scarier because we've been living with Harry's fear for 2 chapters, not 2 minutes. Honestly, this is the kind of stretch that could be half an hour to an hour of TV easily. And if the HBO series does it right, this build-up should feel like a slow, tightening coil before the arena. Because for Harry, the waiting is almost worse than the fight. And the book literally proves that later. The movies allow you to be captivated by Harry and kind of see him do great things from afar. However, when you get to sit with Harry longer, the anticipation becomes part of the horror, to be honest. You're more or less in his shoes with him, which, again, the show can do a lot with. Tuesday arrives, task day, and the whole school is electric. Lessons stop at midday. Students don't know what they're about to see, but they're excited. Harry feels separate from everyone. The good luck wishes, the insults, it's all noise. His nerves are so advanced, he wonders if he'll snap and start cursing everyone. McGonagall comes to get him, and she looks anxious. She gives him that teacher human moment. Keep a cool head, do your best, and nobody will think worse of you. Then they reach the tent. It screens the dragons from view. Inside, Floor pale, Crumb surely nervous, Cedric pacing. Bagman is cartoonishly cheerful in his old wasp robes. Bagman explains the procedure. They draw models from a purple sack to determine which dragon. The task is to collect the golden egg. Floor draws the Welsh green. Crumb draws the Chinese fireball. Cedric draws the Swedish short snout. Harry draws the Hungarian Horntail. Last. Bagman tells Cedric he's first, and then he pulls Harry aside and offers to help. Shady, betting energy help. Harry refuses quickly. Whistle blows, Cedric goes. This is where the book nails it. The waiting is torture. Harry sits in the tent listening to the crowd scream, gasp, roar like a single creature. Bagman's commentary makes Harry imagine the worst case scenarios. Cedric finishes and the crowd erupts. Floor goes, trembling but determined. The crowd erupts again. Crumb goes, crowd erupts again. And then Harry is alone. He feels outside his own body. Legs like marshmallow. Panic rising into a crescendo. And the whistle blows. It's Harry's turn. Harry steps out into a dreamlike arena. Magically raised stands packed with faces. And at the far end, the Horntail crouched over her eggs, tail gouging the ground, yellow eyes locked on him. Harry doesn't care if the crowd is cheering or booing. He raises his wand. Accio Firebolt. He shouts the spell, and there's that terrifying pause where everything depends on whether it works. Then the firebolt comes screaming through the air, sweeping into the enclosure and stopping beside him. That's the turning point. Harry mounts, kicks off, and something miraculous happens. As he rises, the fear drops away. He's back where he belongs, flying. The flight now just becomes a Quidditch match in his mind. The Horntail is the opposing team. Fire is a bludger. The air is his home turf. Harry spots the golden egg nestled among the gray ones. He dives, pulls out of the way, just out of the way of fire. Bagman is losing it, commentating because the truth becomes obvious. Harry can fly. Harry circles, climbs, pulls the dragon's attention. He gets grazed by a tail spike. Robe ripped, shoulder stinging, crowd screaming. Then Harry realizes the key detail. The Horntail doesn't want to leave her eggs. She's too protective. So Harry has to coax her up, slowly, gradually, just enough distance to expose the nest. He teases higher, higher, and she finally spreads those huge wings, and the instant she lifts, Harry dives, hands off the broom, grabs the golden egg, and rockets away over the stands. The crowd goes nuclear. And Harry hears the world turn back up again, because he's aware of the cheers now, the applause, the shock. Dragon Keepers rush in to subdue her. McGonagall, Hagrid, Moody wave him in. Harry lands, heart lighter than it has been in weeks. He survived. McGonagall praises him, which is rare and therefore huge. Pomfrey complains that Hogwarts goes from Dementors to dragons and heals his shoulder with the brisk efficiency as always. And then comes the moment that matters the most for your heart. Hermione bursts in, shaking, calling him brilliant. Ron follows. Ron is pale, stunned, and finally says it. Whoever put Harry's name in the goblet is trying to kill him. Harry throws one cold line because he's been hurt, but then Ron starts to apologize. And Harry realizes he doesn't need the apology spoken. He cuts it off. It's okay. Forget it. Ron grins nervously, and Harry grins back. And Hermione, overwhelmed, hugs them both and cries that they're both stupid, which is Hermione's way of saying, thank God. Harry having Ron back in his corner is worth like 1,000 points to Gryffindor. That's his friend coming back. That is his security. That's his confidant. And to have the team together, for him to have won the first task in the most extravagant way, it really puts Harry on top with an edge. They go to the judging. Ron rattles off what the other companions did. Cedric transfigured a rock into a dog as a distraction, got burned. Floor used a charm that made the dragon drowsy, but it snorted flame. Skirt caught on fire. Crumb hit the dragon in the eye. It crushed real eggs, lost points. Then the judges score Harry. Maxime, 8. Crouch, 9. Dumbledore, 9. Bagman, 10. and Karkaroff with a biased 4. Ron explodes at Karkaroff, furious on Harry's behalf. And Harry doesn't even care about the 4, because Ron being angry for him is proof that Ron is back. And Harry notices something else. It wasn't just Gryffindors cheering during the task. When people actually saw what he was facing, much of the school was on his side too. Charlie tells Harry that Bagman wants a word in the champions tent. Inside it feels different now, friendly, warm, like surviving changes the air. Bagman announces the second task date February 24th at 9:30 a.m. And then tells him to open the golden egg and solve the clue inside. Harry leaves with Ron talking fast, the old rhythm returning. And then, like a mosquito that you can't swat away, Rita Skeeter ambushes them again, quill ready, trying to mine the moment for a story. Harry gives her the only answer she deserves, a savage goodbye, and he walks away with Ron, together. So, that's chapters 19 and 20, and I love these chapters because they're not just Harry fights a dragon. They're emotional and psychological. The buildup of a kid being pressured from every direction and still managing to keep his head, find strength, and survive. I mean, that's Harry Potter in general. And honestly, the fact that Harry can hold composure through the smear campaign, the isolation, the fear, the entire school watching, and a literal Hungarian Horntail is kind of insane. Next time, we move into the fallout, the egg clue, the next phase of the tournament, and what this victory changes socially at Hogwarts. I appreciate you being here listening today. Be sure to drop a rating with a comment. It goes a very long way. In our notes, there's a Discord link. You should join it. Queue up with the Harry Potter people. We're going to start discussions in there soon. And it's just one place I'd like us all to meet up and nerd about theories and other things. Like, what's the show going to be like? Or what do you mean? Do you like Marvel? We can talk a lot of Marvel as well. I appreciate you being here, and it means the world. And until next time, wands down, hearts full.